So we will start once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us. I'm Samson Shatu, Agriculture Extension Officer in the Office of Innovation, FAO. I will be moderating most of the session. Thank you for joining this the FAO webinar series. The webinar series is on application of innovative extension models to improve uptake and scaling up of technology and innovation. Our main focus will be in Africa, but the experience will be shared at the global level. So since this is a webinar series and this is our first webinar, I will be starting this webinar is a joint webinar organized by the two units in the FAO. And I will invite the two of my colleagues for joint opening and welcoming remarks. First, I will please allow me to invite Salvaraju Ramasamy, the Senior Agricultural Officer and the Team Leader of Research, Biotechnology and Extension in the FAO Office of Innovation. Salvaraju, welcome, and the floor is yours. Salvaraju? We can't hear you. Hello, Salvaraju?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So dear speakers and participants, we welcome you to this webinar series on the application of innovative extension models to increase the uptake and scaling up of innovations and technologies. As Samson already mentioned to you, this is a series of webinar sessions organized by FAO's Office of Innovation and also our partnerships and UN collaboration division and especially the family farming unit in collaboration with other partners. In this case, especially, we have a number of partners joined from Africa. As we all aware that the technologies and innovations are accelerators to make our agri-food systems more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. That is the type of transformation we want to see, and that is the direction that we are moving. And in that context, technologies and innovations are contributing a lot. But the producers and other agri-food system actors are constrained by their availability, accessibility, and affordability of these technologies and innovations. There is a huge gap, especially in the developing countries when we refer to the smallholder farmers and also agri-food system actors associated with the smallholder farming production systems. The innovative EAS models can address some of these challenges. Agricultural extension and advisory service models should be innovative. By being innovative, this can address some of these challenges. By introducing new EAS approaches, we can improve the situation, especially improve the access, availability, and affordability of these tools. But we need collective efforts and shared experiences to build and operationalize these innovative extension models. As we all know, there is no one generic type of model that can be applied everywhere, and it is very diverse. This is also location specific. It also depends on several other factors, including the infrastructure and the necessary tools, and also availability of the simple and digestible contents by the smallholder farmers. This webinar series addresses a critical gap and promotes sharing of innovative extension models in the context of pluralistic extension and advisory services. I don't need to go into the details of pluralistic extension and advisory systems. because we know that traditionally we used to have only the public sector extension as a model to carry the technologies and innovations to the farmers. But currently we have number of other players, including non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, private sector, input suppliers. There are so many players are serving and also contributing to this cause. We need to seek other tools and approaches to enhance the effectiveness of EAS and enhance the complementarity. Which are those tools? And one such tool is the rural communication approaches that can complement the agricultural extension advisory services and also vice versa. EAS can also complement to the efforts related to the rural communication approaches. As we all know, partnerships play a critical role in the success of these initiatives, whether it is related to EAS, Extension and Advisory Services, or the Rural Communication Services. So partnership is crucial. I would like to acknowledge the contributions of our partners, including AFAS and also Access Agriculture, AGRA, FRI, Moyo Agribusiness Foundation, and Casa Africa and others. There are so many other partners are also contributing continuously to all our efforts, both at the regional as well as at the country level. Especially the regional research and extension organizations played a major role in taking care of these tools and methodologies to be delivered at the country level. Their support is instrumental in strengthening our joint efforts in building the innovative extension models. In 2024, we showcased various good practices of pluralistic EAS, and through open call, we have packaged and showcased several good practice of pluralistic EAS models, and it was widely discussed. And we had a series of events last year to share and also promote the pluralism within the extension and advisory services. This particular series focuses on innovative EAS models and other complementary opportunities. As I mentioned before, the rural communication services is a complementary opportunity that can also synergetically work with extension and advisory services to improve the efficiency. I would like to extend my thanks to all colleagues and partners who are already collaborating with us for sharing their experiences on innovative EAS models. I request each one of you to actively participate and share your thoughts and ideas and connect each other and share your experiences. I thank you one and all for joining us and looking forward to having productive discussions during this webinar series. And we have so many resources available, and you please visit our website, Research and Extension Systems website. There are a lot of publications, including, on the research systems, extension and advisory services, and agricultural innovation systems, etc. So we look forward to benefiting from your experiences and also sharing what we have from FAO. Thank you so much. Over to you, Samson.
Thank you so much, Salvaraju, for your insightful remarks. You have highlighted the importance of partnership. That's very important, and also the complementarity of rural communication services with extension. And also, again, our discussion will be within the pluralistic extension in the advisory services, where different actors are taking part in providing extension in the advisory services. Thank you for that. So our second speaker will be Gilham Brady. He's the head of family farming and parliamentary networks and communication for development unit in FAO. Brady, The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Samson. Thank you, Selvaraggio, and also to the Office of Innovation for the opportunity for us to co-organize this webinar with you and to discuss such important topics to our work, also in the partnership division of FAO. All these key topics we're going to discuss: extension advisory services, innovations, technology, producer organization services, rural communication services are crucial aspects of the Global Action Plan of the United Nations Decade on Family Farming that FAO is also supporting the implementation from 2019 until 2028. Innovative extension models are central to support family farmers to adapt and to apply solutions and innovations to sustainable agri-food systems. In our experience in the implementation of the decade, this is a topic with a high demand from the members, from the governments. Most of them are looking for opportunities on how to be able to bring extension services at a greater scale to the farmers, at the same time concerned about the operational costs. So find innovative ways to reach the farmers are crucial, and the use of technology of communications can play a central role. So rural communication services can play a strategic role in this sense, and how to help to find innovative models of rural extension services, and can play a crucial role in rural development. So therefore, we are delighted with this opportunity and looking forward with the discussion with you. Thank you so much for your participation. We have big numbers and a very qualified audience and diversity of realities here. So looking forward for the discussions with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Brady. I think that's, again, thank you for reaffirming the need for, the complementarity of rural communication services and agriculture extension and advisory services. And also, again, thank you also mentioning that the family farmers, they really need the contribution of extension and advisory service and rural communication services. Thank you so much for setting the tone, Salvaraju and Brady. Now, those of you who joined late, would you kindly continue introducing yourself, write your name and your organization and from where you are joining, your country. We'll be very happy to know you so that people also, they will interact with you, because this, we would like to make it as much as possible more interactive and a networking session. So again, just to begin with the setting the scene, please allow me to invite my colleague Paulo from the Communication Development Unit to give us a brief overview of the webinar series and today's agenda. Paulo, over to you. Cristiano, would you kindly share the slides for him?
Thank you, Samson, and hi, everyone. While waiting for Cristiano's slides, so we start with the big why of the webinar, which of course the objectives. What we aim to do is to foster experience and knowledge sharing and learning among ourselves and also our speakers on innovative extension models in Africa, especially in the context of pluralistic extension and advisory services. We'll also be underscoring the importance of innovative extension models and communication approaches and media to improve the uptake and scaling of agricultural technology and innovations. Now for the next slide. So the structure of the webinar series. The webinar series is composed of 3 webinars. Webinar 1 is today, which kind of serves as an overview or setting the scene. So it introduces the general framework of the webinar series. And then on webinar 2, we delve deeper and explore extension model led by private sector and producer organizations. And that's going to be in May. And then the third webinar finally will focus more on innovative video and community and rural radio in pluralistic extension model. And that's going to be in June 26. So both of them will provide English-French interpretation. And I would like to already thank everyone for registering for all of these sessions. Because once you registered for this first one, you're automatically also invited for the next 2 webinars. Next slide, please. Now we zoom in for today's agenda. There are 4 main parts of this webinar. The first one is what we're doing right now, essentially setting the scene. And then session 2 will focus on some highlights of innovative EAS models and rural communication services, or RCS. So we will have 40 minutes for that. And then after that, you'll have the chance to raise your hands for questions and reflections. And then on session 3, we'll be introducing the upcoming webinar series. And some of the speakers for these webinars are also here, and we're going to hear from them. And then finally, we end with a summary and closing of this particular webinar. Next slide. So before we go to session 2, I would just like to give you a few housekeeping reminders. First, please use the chat box for interactions. So if you have any questions to the speakers or to your fellow participants, please put them on the chat. And of course, during the Q&A, you'll have the chance to raise your hand and interact directly with our panelists and our speakers. So kindly raise your hand if you wish to be addressed. And yes, that's it. I'll turn you over back to Samson for session 2 on the highlights of innovative extension models and rural communication services. Samson.
Thank you so much, Paulo. Thank you for that overview and also agenda of today's webinar. I'm so excited that so far we have 162 participants. So I would like to encourage you again to interact in the chat box as we continue this webinar. So to begin with the second session, which is the main session of this webinar, which is highlight of innovative extension and advisory service models and rural communication services. We have 6 speakers in this session. We'll have 2 sets of panel discussion. The first will be focusing on what are the global trends of extension and advisory service in terms of extension models. We'll be hearing the global experience, then followed by Africa's experience. So please allow me to invite the first speaker, Puyun Yang. He's the FAO Agriculture Extension Officer. He will be sharing with us the global trends of innovative extension and advisory service models. So he will be highlighting what are the different experience at the global level, what are the potentials as well as the challenge. Yang, over to you.
Okay.
So as he preparing, sharing his slides, please feel free to use the chat box and also if you have any questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Okay, not yet. It's coming. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, put it in a slideshow. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Savage. And as mentioned by Savage, the global trends of innovative EAS modules are very diverse, and I try to catch the main themes. And because we're going to show the slides afterwards, and I think I need not to go to every detail. I just needed to mention about this is an introductory, it's just an introduction, and based on our global assessment of EAS system a couple of years ago by FAO, and also our needs assessment on the digital EAS a couple of years ago. So I just have introduced the 8 category of the innovative EAS modules here. Maybe it can contain everything, It's very hard to contain everything. This is first, I think the first is digitalization and ICT-driven EAS. And so they have, some, mobile apps, SMS services, and digital platforms. So I think everyone know, for example, in Africa, farm cloud, echo is very common, digital platforms. For example, AI and the chatbots. I needed to mention about the digital green, chatbots. Nowadays is a good, very good personalized EAS recommendation, service provide. And then is TV and radio EAS. And as our colleagues from partnership division mentioned about the communication, also the complementary, it's complementary sometimes play a vital role in the low internet connected areas, as TV and radio EAS modules. And then it's online learning videos and the webinars and the courses. And the second category is farm-centered participatory approach. So I think a farm-field school and still is innovative, and I think in a different farm-field schools, and also farm-to-farm extension, example as farm research networks in Ethiopia, farm peer-to-peer learning in African countries. And third category is the pluralistic EAS modules. For example, public-private partnership. For example, a lot of agribusiness need extension such as Bayer or Syngenta provide EAS along the inputs, for example. And multi-stakeholder EAS, and there are very good number of examples in partnership with public and private sectors, such as university, education sector, research academies, or NGO-led EAS programs. The first category is inclusive and gender-sensitive extension. For example, women-focused EAS programs, youth engagement programs. And the fifth category is policy and institutional innovative EAS systems. And nowadays, many countries have a decentralized extension system. They have the major, institutional, innovative, and institutional changes, much more focused on the community-based public EAS system. And also, like the private and NGO sectors to play bigger roles in complementary to the public EAS system. And another example, for example, is one-stop shop hubs. This is the integrating finance, inputs, and EAS such as royal service, finance, and EAS centers in India. And the sixth one is the ecosystem, focused, eco-service focused, EAS models. And nowadays, in every country, they are, promoting climate smart agriculture programs. And also in the regenerative or agroecological, organic or green agriculture programs, they have, integrated eco-service elements such as pay for the farmer for eco-service, integrate to the extension and advisor service systems. And the seventh category is data-driven EAS. For example, the bigger data and IoT sensors and satellite images have in the decision making. And for example, John Deere's farm site and the blockchain for traceability. And the last category I would like to mention about is the agriculture innovation system. In the agriculture innovation system nowadays, for example, we have a core innovation platform such as multi-agriculture innovation platforms, science and technology backyards, living neighbors, which integrate education, research, extension, and value chain actors, and the private sector to co-innovate and co-learning. So, and then we have agriculture knowledge innovation system that is in the European countries, and we call AKIS system, very common in the European countries. And we have national agriculture innovation system, such as it's an integrated system that involves the co-innovation and co-creation of knowledge, enhance the linkage between research, extension, and education. So in summary, I think the global trends we can figure out are towards the demand-driven, digital-enabled, and sustainable-focused public pluralistic EAS system will continue with the increasing emphasis on AI, mixed reality, co-innovation, co-learning, and farm participatory networks for scale-up impact. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Yang. Again, presenting the global trends of extension and advisory models. As you could see, there are different extension and advisory models, starting from the public extension and advisory service to the public-private partnership, use of digitally enabled extension and advisory service, the use of participatory and community-driven extension and advisory service, and so on. So countries have different experience, and again, even at the global level, different regions also they are applying, and also the different extension and advisory service model. So let's hear the experience now from Africa, African Forum for Agriculture Advisory Service, AFAS, which is a network of agriculture extension and advisory services in Africa. So we'd like to hear the practical experience of in terms of application of extension, the different extension and advisory service models. Then we'll open up for the discussion because there are many complementarities and similarities in terms of presentation. So Jerry from AFAS is going to make presentation. Would you kindly put on a slide show, Jerry?
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I hope you can see.
Yes. Yes, we can see. Yes.
Yeah, I want to thank my previous presenters that have been able to set the scene very well. They've highlighted a number of challenges that I will not be able to repeat. And some of these challenges, we realize that they can be addressed through extension. We recognize that extension is the game changer. Of course, within extension, we see that there are related challenges that include policy and institutional issues. We see issues of coordination among the different interventions. We see issues of diversity and dynamism of the different needs and knowledge by the value chain actors that we serve. We also see issues of inadequately packaged knowledge. And then we also see issues of unavailability of platforms for experiential learning, but also inadequate expert pool of extension practitioners that also have capacity issues. And then we see a diversity in terms of the extension providers and the financial limited resources. What we highlight here is that with these challenges, we see that Africa needs to adapt to innovative pluralistic AES models, some of which have been highlighted by Poyun Yang in the previous presentation that we have had. Just to bring this to the fore, we realize that one of the big issues is the extension to farmer ratios. We see that some of the countries in Africa have a very high ratio. For example, when you look at Liberia, we talk about one extension worker to 40,000 farmers. So this is quite high, and therefore we can't run away from different actors participating in these innovative pluralistic models that we are talking about. What are some of these innovative AES models that we have been able to support, and the ones that we document on the continent of Africa? But before maybe I dive into that, as highlighted by Selvaraju, does the magic. So we need models that are blended, but with characteristics such as flexibility, participatoriness, and sustainable in terms of working within the farming systems. Some of the models that we have worked with include the digital connectors that are supported by the youth, and we call them the digital connectors youth models. We have also worked with the village-based advisor models that are championed by AGRA. And then relatedly, we work with the embedded service provider models, where provision is within the businesses of agro input dealers. We have also worked with the farmer field schools models. And then recently, we have worked with a peer learning team model, where we work with master trainers supporting the frontline extension providers, and then the multi-stakeholder innovation platform models as a key. But what I would like to note here is that among all these models, and within all these models, digitalization is a key driver for the success of these models. And we talk about integrating artificial intelligence and machine learning for the digital marketplaces for AES. Just to dive a little bit deeper, what have we been able to see as the impact of some of these models, and how have they really supported access to technologies and innovations? We see that for the digital connectors, we worked with, for example, 16 digital connectors that have been able to reach 13,400 value chain actors in 2 countries, Kenya and Uganda. And we see that these have been able to facilitate access, weather information, and the packaging solutions, including irrigation systems for those countries. The other model that we have talked about is a village-based advisor model. And as highlighted earlier, this is mainly championed by AGRA, where we see self-employed, value-based, village-based advisors that are enrolled to the digital marketplace to access AES content. And these work through well-articulated business models, meaning that they provide extension services as they do the business of input distribution. And we see that these have been able to reach, they have reached over 500,000 value chain actors in 5 countries, and thus they ease access to inputs, seed, and the bulking of the outputs from the farms. Talking about the multi-stakeholder innovation platforms, this is based on the innovation systems approach that has been highlighted by Rian. And AFAS has worked with over 23 of them across Africa. And we see that the 23 multi-stakeholder innovation platforms have been able to reach over 17 million value chain actors, providing services such as farm labor, digital AES, and other services. Then finally, the other approach that we have promoted and worked with is a peer learning team approach. And this is a bi-directional learning approach where we have information flow from bottom up and top down. And as I highlighted earlier, here we work with the master trainers that then mentor the frontline extension workers to provide services, including upscaling of agroecological transition, bio-input usage, vermiculture, supporting black soldier fly rearing, biochar, and other services. So we see that with this, we've been able to reach over 500 value chain actors in Uganda and Madagascar. So with that, I want to thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jerry. Thank you for both presenters in terms of highlighting different extension and advisory service models. Again, these are not exhaustive. I think we need to recognize that these are not some of the examples of extension and advisory service models. There are different countries, especially like in Africa, they are using different extension and advisory service models, which you can mention, like, for instance, in Rwanda, the Twigiri Muhinzi, which is government's home-led extension and advisory service, giving more emphasis to smallholder farmers and the participatory approach. Uganda also, they are applying a single spine extension and advisory services. Again, in Ethiopia also, government-led pluralistic extension and advisory services. So as we say, there is no single extension and advisory extension services that fit for all. So there is a diversity. So these are some of the examples. So we'd like to hear also the experience from participants. What are the different extension and advisory service models? So we are opening now the session for Q&A. I see already some questions already in the Q&A, and I hope the speakers, they will address some of them later, but just to pick, like, for instance, one of the questions we have said that there are many challenges. As Jerry highlighted, we say extension and farmers extension ratio is still very high. How can we narrow that gap? So again, the use of digital extension and advisory service. How are we going to address the issue of smallholder farmers? Still, they are relying on the existing traditional knowledge and information access. How can we not leaving them behind? How can we address such kind of challenge? Again, in terms of capacity as well, the extension and advisory services, there are different capacity gaps based on different studies, technical and functional capacities. How can we address so that this extension and advisory service models can be applied by extension workers in order to enhance or improve the uptake and scaling up of technology and innovation? So my question, maybe I will just throw to Yang and Jerry. So based on your experience, okay, so what are really the critical challenges in terms of applying this extension and advisory services? And what could be done in terms of addressing this challenge so that this extension and advisory service models can be applied widely and also improve extension, uptake and scaling up of technology and innovation? Maybe I will give chance to Puyun Yang, then followed by Yang. In the meantime, please, participant, raise your hand in case if you want to ask live question. Then my colleague Cristiano will give you access to unmute yourself and to speak.
Okay.
And yes, please, Yang.
Thank you very much, Sanxin. I think you have put a very challenging question. I think globally, I think each country, different country have different answers. That's right. As I always mentioned about, no one size fits all. Different countries have different challenges. I just give some example in the African countries, And a couple of years ago, we have conducted this assessment of again on the digital, digital needs of the EAS on the African countries and Asian countries. I just mentioned about the digital, because we are talking a lot about the digital, innovative by digital. So in the African countries, in the developing countries, the two important challenges. First one is the infrastructure. So because of the accessibility to the internet and the infrastructure, the infrastructure information system, the investment in the accessibility of especially in the rural areas, and this is a big challenge. I mean the infrastructure. I let people understand the infrastructure in the developing countries. For example, the availability of mobile phones and the access to the internet, and also the low, very low, bound width for the internet access. This is infrastructure for the challenge. Secondly, is digital literacy. The digital literacy is a big problem. Especially for the rural farmers. And especially for the some smallholder farmers. So this is the like this kind of challenges. So I think this is for the digital aspect. And the other institutions, as my colleagues in the African countries, Jerry has mentioned about and they have bigger problems, in terms of institutional capacity, very limited number of EAS service people, and also very poor infrastructure for the EAS system. For example, even very poor infrastructure support for the EAS system, and the more crucial is very little investment in many countries in the EAS system. Those are also the big challenges in terms of that. So how to address those issues? I think in terms of the just in the digital aspect, I think firstly you need the investment and need to provide a public partnership, and you need to have the digital education. So, and I think this is very complicated. And in terms of the EAS system, we need investment. We need a government policy settlement, a good policy environment for the supporting the EAS system. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Jerry, the same question. So what are your experience in terms of addressing the different challenges in terms of applying the different extension and advisory service models, especially in Africa? Tell us your view. Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, many of the solutions and the recommendations that are put up by Puyong, I think I think these are very, very, very important to highlight. But I just wanted to deepen the discussion a little bit and say that even where you find that the extension to farmer ratio is very high, it is simply that the focus is put on public extension systems. If governments and the different stakeholders were able to recognize that there are other players within the innovation system that are actually contributing to extension and advisory services, I think we wouldn't be having such numbers. A very critical example is Madagascar, where there is no public extension system, and they will say completely we don't have an extension system. However, when you go deeper, you find that there are private sector and other players that are actually providing this. So why am I saying this? I'm simply saying that we need a recognition of that, either through public policy to recognize that pluralistic extension is one of the game changers. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I think thank you bringing the issue of pluralistic extension and advisory services. I see one question even in the Q&A that what are the practical experience in terms of non-coordinating pluralistic extension and advisory services? As Jerry highlighted, many countries are moving towards pluralistic extension and advisory services, again, developing extension policies, recognizing the role of different actors in extension and advisory service provision. I think, and also last year also, we organized 3 webinar series around pluralistic extension and advisory service based on concrete examples. Okay, I see hand from Charles. I will give Charles briefly. Then I see Isse would like to comment. Cristiano, would you kindly give him access to unmute himself so that we'll give him a chance? Charles, briefly, yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the nice presentations. Jerry has raised quite a good issue about the ratio of extension workers to farmers. But I think there is also something that is a cancer within the extension service, that is people are migrating from the public extension to the private extension. And the problem is that also our public extension service, once somebody finishes school, they become extension workers. Then in order for them to rise and have a better status in society, even at work, they've got to continue with school. So people are continually focusing their time on upgrading themselves to masters, to PhD, which draws them out from the delivery of the service itself. So at least I wanted to know how best can this be handled, because it looks an extension worker is not a stable employee, even for government, because at a certain time he is going to leave. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think this is a good question that it needs attention of all of us. There are many extension and advisory service professionals in this webinar. I could see colleagues from GIFRAS, colleagues from ILRI, from different organizations who are really expert in the areas of extension and advisory services. Please share your thoughts in the chat. And since we have very limited time for this session, I will encourage Yang and Jerry to address questions raised in the Q&A. Then we'll come back to the general discussion later. Let's proceed to the second part of this session, which is listening about rural communication services in Africa, and also the role of youth in extension and advisory service through collaboration. So first, I would like to invite Guilherme Radi, Head of Family Farming, Parliamentary Networks and Communication for Development Unit, AFIO, to start with, and also invite also Sarah to make presentation. Yes, over to you, Brad.
Thank you, Samson. Thank you again. So as I referred to in my previous intervention, we are in the middle of the United Nations Decade on Family Farming. One of the main pillars of the decade, pillar number 4, is about strengthening producer organizations, strengthening capacities, improving their services to members, and therefore rural communication services is a key aspect of this. The decade calls for strengthening of rural communication services because of the role that they play on family farming policies, programs, national action plans. Now, communication plays an important role. In the scope of this work, FAO supports 3 regional communication initiatives in Asia, CONDEV Asia, in Latin America, Onda Rural, and in Africa, Casa Africa. I will ask my colleagues to share the links with you all. And what are those initiatives? Are platforms with rural communication service actors in the regions and producer organizations, farmers organizations, discussing contents, priorities that they therefore develop content to reach farmers organizations, many times through rural radios or other types of media. Then under the scope of Casa Africa, Sarah Cardi, the big partner of us from the University of Reading from the UK, helped us to do an analysis about the trends in policy and the appropriation of rural communication services in family farming. Okay, so I kindly invite my dear friend Sarah to bring more information about the study that they conducted in this scope of Casa Africa, and to show us some of the findings about the role that rural communication services can play also to improve innovative extension advisory services models. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sarah, the floor is yours. Tell us about how this rural communication service is really improving the rural community, and also especially in terms of improving scaling up of technology and innovation. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Samson, and thank you very much, Guilherme, for the introduction. We have been collaborating with our colleagues in the Office of Parliamentarian Services and Cooperation to look at what are ways that we can support how communication can particularly support family farmers, and who are largely small and medium scale farmers and farming operations. And I think that you'll find there's a lot in common between what has already been presented in terms of the goals of innovation systems, and particularly within agricultural extension. So we come from rural communication services, comes from the principle that sustainable development means looking at rural communities and the needs of rural communities in a multifaceted way. This is not just looking at large-scale processes, but very context-specific understanding of how can we support rural communities and family farmers and to have the information they need to make decisions and informed decisions about farming practice, about agriculture, about sustaining their livelihoods. So communication for development, which is a sister to extension, facilitates capacity building and exchange and access to information. Rural Communication Services institutionalizes communication and these services within structures that have the resources and the ability to provide information and communication resources. So the way we look at this is through a rural communication services framework. So the goal is that rural people have enhanced capacity for informed decision-making and collective action. The principle is that people have the right to information, and we need gender equitable and equitable development and social inclusion and for rural communities and for family farming. This is done through a series of approaches that are inherently participatory, and where we would like there to be co-option and interrogation and adaptation at all levels. And this is facilitated through a series of different strategies, some of which are used by extension models, but the goal is that we can create a situation where farmers have access to information, networking, and dialogue so that they are better able to make choices, and that this is then institutionalized through organizations, which includes extension services, laws, policies, to better support family farming.
Can we move a bit fast?
Yep.
Sarah,
So
yes, thanks.
through the study that we've done with Young Casa, we know that the trends are that we've moved from principally top-down approaches to communication services that are more decentralized and inclusive of farmer-centered approaches. But there's been a tension between pluralism of services and fragmentation. So there's a continuing challenge that communication services have is issues around access and equity, rural-urban divides, gender-based social inequalities, and we also need to keep in mind the importance of process versus technology, where we emphasize communication processes rather than being driven by technology. From the Young Casa study, there's a series of themes that emerged: awareness raising and information, particularly the right information at the right time, adapted to context in an accessible way, from a people-centered perspective. We also need policy advocacy, so there needs to be an enabling policy and technological environment, which includes the infrastructure needed for mobile technology, for instance. We need knowledge sharing and training, so communication capacities and building capacities to innovate. And finally, we need networking and partnership, so focusing on inclusion, participation, and equitable access to communication and information by all. The key is when we look at the conditions for inclusive rural communication, the key is coming from the perspective of farmers. We need farmer-centered methods and approaches. So we need to look at how to blend how communication is used by communities and by family farmers and use that as a starting point. So media needs to be driven by how people already communicate and work towards farmer appropriation of communication. This needs to be done with principles of equity, access to communication technologies, information and knowledge in mind, and partnerships are key to this process. There are a number of priority actions, but the focus here is on how we can support marginalized communities in a farmer-centric way. So we need to understand the context, socioeconomic structures, and mobilizing participation of farmers in all communication activities. And finally, when we think about what are the priorities for how we can promote and implement inclusive rural communication services, we need to keep at the forefront what are the contextual and local barriers for farmers in terms of access to information, particularly gendered access, as at least one of our question and answer comments pointed out, there is gender differences in access to information. So we need to use appropriate technologies, mobilizing farmers and understanding this process, the importance of process rather than technology-driven communication. Now, this is all complementary and consistent with the presentations of my colleagues earlier. If you would like the more detailed study, please feel free to download the Transforming Rural Africa study using the QR code, or contact all of the documents are available on Yencasa through a variety of means.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much, Sarah. That's excellent presentation, understanding that really improve our understanding about the rural communication services, what are the frameworks, what are the guiding principles, and how it also helps smallholder farmers. So I think, colleagues, let's proceed with the one presentation, then we'll open the discussion. You know, youth are also playing a key role in extension and advisory services. FAO had a collaboration with PAFO, and would like to hear the experience, how this collaboration really improve or enhance users' engagement in extension and advisory service. What is its uniqueness? So Maribel from FAO Partnership Office, she will be highlighting this collaboration, and also Elizabeth Simadala from PAFO, from EAF, the former president of the Pan-African Farmers Organization, PAFO. Also, she will tell us the practical, detailed experience of this collaboration. Over to you, Maribel.
Thank you very much, Samson. Well, as you rightfully said, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Maribel Gonzalez Barraza, and I'm a partnerships officer overseeing the engagement between FAO and civil society organizations. So I just wanted to give you a very brief introduction on the fruitful partnership that we have between FAO and the Pan-African Farmers Organization, or PAFO. And as many as you know, PAFO is an African platform organization with a membership base composed of 5 regional farmers networks. And together, they are the voice of over 80 million African farmers. So FAO and PAFO have enjoyed a long-standing collaboration spanning well over a decade. However, in February 2022, we formalized a 5-year partnership to strengthen the capacities of farmers' organizations across Africa. This alliance that we have together is empowering family farmers across Africa, which is very much embedded in what Guillermo was saying at the UN Decade of Family Farming. We're strengthening farmers' organizations and enhancing sustainable agriculture across the region. Now, our current joint initiatives are nurturing a new generation of young agricultural producers that we want to drive, help them drive innovation and sustainability in the agri-food sector. So right now, we're emphasizing the promotion of agriculture as an attractive and viable business for youth. So what are we doing? By integrating sustainable agroecological approaches and leveraging digital innovations, we're trying to make sure that the agricultural sector is more appealing and accessible to young people across the continent. We're currently developing several programs and initiatives on promoting youth-led agribusinesses and entrepreneurship so that we can give them the appropriate knowledge and tools to enhance their productivity, access to innovation, and of course, access to markets. So on this note, just to give a wider reflection on our collaboration, and I'm very glad that Dr. Sarah touched upon, partnerships being key, because we think that partnerships are the means to better and bigger results. So on this note, I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Elizabeth Simadala, who, as many of you know, she's an Ugandan agripreneur and a smallholder farmer. So she's the current president of the Eastern African Farmers Federation, and as Samson said, the former president of PAFO. So
thank you so
let
much,
us have her
Maribel.
insights on how young farmers can contribute to the transformation of Africa's agricultural landscape. Over to you, Ms. Nimadala.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. Greetings from Nairobi, where
Okay.
I'm attending the CGR week.
Okay.
And of course, issues of extension, research and science, plus innovations are very high on the agenda. I would like to also appreciate the partnership between FAO and the Pan-Africa Farmers Organization, plus the regional farmers organizations in their own capacity in terms of scaling innovative extension models with special emphasis on youth. As mentioned, we are in the stages of co-creating and co-designing approaches where we can have youth involvement in agri-food systems with increased participation at production, variation, information access, and so forth. But having said that, we also have other programs where we've been working with FAO. And I want to point out one of the platforms that we've created out of our partnership, the AYA platform. It's one of those agribusiness hubs and learning facilities that creates an opportunity for youth to learn from fellow youth. And it resulted out of a program that we had on supporting rural youth access to financing. So far, we have about 4,800 youth registered on this platform, and they're able to exchange information, knowledge, and learn from each other using the same platform. But beyond that, there are also other innovating and digital models that we are using as a regional farm organization. And I want to point out the digital and mobile-based platform where we are profiling our farmers and building a database to be able to offer them services, most especially extension. We so far have over 250,000 farmers on the platform, and we use a USSD code. The platform is called eGranary. Actually, it was through the support of FAO that we were able to put together this platform. They helped us in terms of getting a USSD code from Uganda Communications Commission, but also in Kenya. And with that platform, we are able to send extension messages. And we created an infrastructure where we built a call center. So beyond just farmers receiving extension messages, they're able to interact with the system, but also call through the call center, and they're able to interact with the agronomist. And the other model is around creating a pool of champions. So far, we have over 200 champions within our network, and these are trained lead extensionists. So with this, we trained them in different value chains and across all the entire value chains around production, validation, and also marketing. And so with this pool of champions, they're able to provide extension within our member cooperatives and farmers associations. And because we have this network, we are able to continue doing the training of trainers for them, especially regarding the new extension information on the market. And of course, the most important one, again, is the farmer-to-farmer approach. Of course, you know that in most cases, farmers learn from fellow farmers. So what we do here is we've identified the lead farmers, and we mainly use the demonstrations where we create demo plots within the localities of these lead farmers, and fellow farmers are able to learn from these demo plots with the support of the lead farmers. But also within the farmers organizations where we don't create the demo plots at the farmer level, then we can create it at the cooperative level or farm association level, or some of the farmers associations always host like agriculture shows. So there are several demonstrations that are being put at the site for these agriculture shows, and our farmers can learn from there. Case in point is the Uganda National Farmers Federation, which usually hosts agriculture shows annually, and there are several demo plots that are put there from different institutions, and people can learn from there. Okay. So with that, I would like to really emphasize that as we come up with these innovation models, especially from the farmers' perspective, we would like to be part and parcel of this process, because I can't really underscore the importance of partnerships and ecosystem approaches in co-creating and co-designing some of these extension models. Of course, taking consideration of the need for them being flexible, looking at the usability, looking at the scalability, adaptability, and sustainability for impact, but also the infrastructure, because not all the farmers can be reached. There is also vulnerability in terms of, for example, the digital platforms, network, in terms of network and connectivity. So some of these issues, we really need to put them at the center when we are co-designing some of these innovation models. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you so much bringing the voice of farmers and also carrying that voice to the CGI Earth Science Week in Kenya. And also we are very glad that research and extension and science is also in the top agenda of the discussion in that Science Week. Again, thank you also highlighting the AYA platform. Victor is here also. I mean, the one who has been also championing that platform. He has also shared the link. You can also access the link and also explore more about AYA. And also would like to also present in our second webinar a bit of about what AYA is doing and how users are playing a key role. So still we are a bit behind in terms of schedule. I would like to ask Howdy, in case if there are one or two questions that needs plenary attention. Do we have one or two questions which you'd like to bring to the plenary?
Okay, thank you, Samson. There are a lot of questions in Q&A, and I will select one bring here. The question is about if there are experience or frameworks related to tailoring the extension services to local needs, how do programs balance the traditional knowledge with climate science and modern innovation? And the second question is about how do current extension approaches ensure feedback loops from farmers to adapt technologies and practices to changing climate realities?
Okay. Thank you very much for those questions. So I would like to give this chance to Pyun Yang and Jerry, just to respond and also make also your final remarks in terms of how can we really help smallholder farmers using innovative extension and advisory services, and also avoid any leaving behind, make it inclusive and also participatory. So I would like to give you 2 minutes each. Then I will give also a chance to other colleagues to say final remarks, and we move to the third session. Pyun Yang, 2 minutes. Okay, maybe Jerry. Jerry,
thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think very important insights that have come through. One of the things that has come through is that as we talk about these extension models, there has to be a lot of involvement of the final beneficiaries in terms of co-creating and co-designing the content and the information that has to be delivered through these. And they have to fit the needs of the diverse value chain actors. Also critical to note is at the depth, to what depth some of these AES models can go and work within the communities. Also critical to note is the infrastructure that is required. For example, if we are talking about digitalization, it is critical that we think about the infrastructure that is required to reach the rural areas of Africa. Critical to note is the digital literacy that was highlighted by Yan. So these are some of the things that we need to really address and support some of this work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yang, would you like to say a few remarks? I see you're muted. Yes, please.
Okay. And actually, I jumped from another meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I just jumped from another meeting.
Yes. So
what is your question?
Just a final remarks in terms of practical experience. How can we make some of the information, make it into local specific solutions using different extension and advisory service models?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sanxin. Sorry for because I simultaneously have another meeting as I told you.
Yes,
and
good.
I think and in no one size fits all, right? Should remember this principle: no one size fits all, and different countries and different locations. And I think at least different countries have different challenges. And when we have designed the innovation, and in terms of the extension and advisory service systems, I think you need to take into consideration of several elements. First, the accessibility, in terms of accessibility of the EAS system. And even for public system, I think in the global level, it's very low accessibility, especially for smallholder farmers. It's really a challenge, accessibility. Okay. And the second, you need to take some elements of affordability. Affordability, that means, the government always thinking about is a good investment or bad investment, And this is especially for the public system. Some government argument about, we have so many people have so big budget for salary, so budget for operation, and you have done so nice for farmers. I don't agree with them, but I just raise the issue, for affordability. That means the efficiency, effectiveness. You need to consider this affordability. How many farmers you have been serviced, and how many investment you go, and then it's accountability. Accountability, your clients, the satisfaction of your clients, you should have contributed to the smallholder farmers. In many countries, small farmers is still the 80% of the I think the 80% of the agriculture production, and in the term of action. So accountability. So you should not only have upper accountability. You should have looking at the downside. Bottom up accountability system. So. The last one, you should have a system of adaptability, because nowadays there's so many challenges. For example, climate change, environmental, degradation. So you have to design a system as adaptability. So this is what I'm thinking about. Those elements you need to take into considerations. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yang. Thank you, colleagues of all speakers of this session. I think it's very difficult to summarize, but what I could see, there are many challenges in terms of extension is very critical. Rural communication services are very critical in terms of supporting smallholder farmers in utilizing different information, knowledge, technology, and innovation. However, there are many challenges, including underinvestment in extension and advisory service, the issue of implementation of policies. So some countries have already developed pluralistic extension and advisory services, but in terms of implementation, still there are some gaps. Again, infrastructure, especially in Africa, is a challenge. Capacity in terms of technical as well as functional capacities. So as a way forward, partnership, pluralistic extension and advisory service, collaboration and coordination among different actors is very critical. I think that is what I could say. As I said, this is the first webinar, which is introductory one. The second and the third webinar, we'll be hearing practical cases, how different extension models are applied and the result is achieved. So we'll be hearing that. So for that, I will be moving to the third session, and I would like to thank all the speakers of session 2. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your rich experience. We'll be continuing the discussion, but let's move to the third session. So the third session is introducing okay. Do you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's not moving. I don't know why. Okay, let me just stop. Okay, I think I have to reshare again. And I don't know why it's not moving. Okay, I think I will use the just without the slide. So the third session is like introduction and highlights of the upcoming webinar series. So this the webinar series is taking place the 29th of May. That will be private-led extension and advisory services, and producers organization-led extension and advisory service will be hearing practical cases. So I will invite speakers to just briefly pitch what they are going to tell us in the upcoming webinar. First, I would like to invite Olusola Ademo from AGRA to say, what are you going to share us in your webinar? Just in 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Samson, and every participant. My name is Olusola Ademo. I lead the extension work with AGRA based in the HQ. Alongside with my colleague, Kuresh Nordin. Next webinar, May 29th, we'll actually be talking more in depth about the village-based advisor model or approach and how AGRA has been able to use that to largely address especially the problem of the large farmer to extension to farmer ratio. So are we seeing that being solved in a sustainable manner, not just from a project point of view, so even beyond projects? How do these village-based advisors continue to engage within the value chain and within the ecosystem to deliver services to farmer? I know it's one of the questions someone raised on how do we scale extension given the limited level of investment. So it's a type of business based approach as well, and we look forward to sharing that with you. Jerry already highlighted some of the work on that also, which we are also doing with AFAS at the system level. So we look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shola. We look forward to listen your cases. Okay, then Victor Arimbi is innovation specialist from FAO, Office of Innovation. Tell us, Victor, what are you going to share with us in your upcoming webinar? Victor? Okay, I think, okay, Victor is going to tell us, as I said earlier, the African Youth Agripreneurs platform, how users are collaborating each other to provide extension and advisory services. So our next presenter will be Charles Govati. He's the Operations Director of Moyo Foundation Trust. He's from Malawi. Charles, would you kindly tell us what are you going to share with us in the next webinar?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim. Thank you for the nice presentations. I think during the next webinar, we shall continue to learn from others. Primarily, secondly, we are going to present our case, which is a hybrid kind of innovative approach where we've combined the farmer-led extension, the the digital use of digital platforms in order to deliver extension services. However, the difference with our approach is that we've looked at it from a business case.
Okay.
We have, from the start, want to make sure that extension makes business sense. If it doesn't make business sense, it will not attract funding or resources required to drive the policy that the country is doing. So we shall be looking at that. We have got WhatsApp groups, we've got the farms that we have established together with the farmers on WhatsApp. They've shared money. We have established 2 farms, and we shall be sharing the experiences through that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. We look forward to hearing your cases and in the next webinar. Then the next presenter will be Alfred from Malawi. Alfred, what are you going to tell us in your next webinar?
Thank you so much, Samson, and thank you so much, the presenters for today. Really, we have learned a number of lessons and experiences from different cases that have been shared today. So let me just go straight to what we'll share. So please let me encourage you to join the next webinar session on 29th of May, where Malawi will be sharing our experiences on policy dialogue processes to strengthen extension and advisory services. So just to give you a synopsis of what this is all about, our presentation discusses capacity gaps of research and extension organizations and key stakeholders in making agricultural innovation systems deliver solutions for solving complex problems faced in Malawi. So this is based on evidence and insights from the multi-level, but also the multi-stakeholder policy dialogue processes that were facilitated in Malawi to identify obstacles and practical solutions for making agricultural innovation platforms work for the rural poor. And this initiative was carried out under the project that phased out just last year. It was called Developing Capacities in Agricultural Innovation Systems, funded by the EU. In short, we call it TAP AIS. So we have even a paper that has been published, and we'll share the link during the next session. Thank you so much, Samson.
Thank you so much, Alfred. So, colleagues, if you want to hear more about the different experiences highlighted by the speakers, please join us on May 29th, 1:30 p.m. Rome time. So the third webinar will be pluralistic extension model using innovative video and community or rural radio. So in this webinar, there will be 3 speakers. The first will be Lilian Sambu from Tanzania. Lilian, would you kindly tell us what you are going to tell us in the third webinar?
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good afternoon. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so happy to be among of the people to participate today. For me, I'll be happy to share about the use of smart projector in advocating about prevention of aflatoxin in food for human health and food that farmers they use to trade either in the local market or exports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Lilian. Again, looking forward to listen your cases from Tanzania. The next speaker will be Francesco from Yankasa, Africa. Francesco, would you kindly tell us what you are going to share us in the next webinar?
Yes, good
afternoon.
afternoon.
To Yenkasa. Yes.
On the 26th of June, we are going to
approach
quite a tricky issue. I mean, can innovation take place through an old type of communication channel like radio or participatory video? That's what we're going to see, and we're going to frame it within Yenkasa Africa. The ComDev platform, already introduced by the head of our unit, Mr. Guilherme Bredi, and during his intervention a few minutes ago. So how old communication tools, radio, participatory video, can participate to this innovative process? That's what we're going to discuss the 26th of June. Of course, stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you so much, Francesco. We are again looking forward to listen to your case. Last but not least, Catherine from Farm Radio International. Could you kindly tell us what you are going to share in the third webinar?
Thank you. Farm Radio has been exploring pathways to scale and to sustain quality radio programming beyond project confines. And we are doing that through an innovative radio programming model called Greenleaf Platform that also links itself to other communication services within the local communities. So the Greenleaf platforms want to provide self-sustaining quality information services that appeal not only to general farmers, but also to women and youth listeners, while also serving private and public investors at scale. So we are looking forward to sharing with you how we have innovatively been working with partners to create a radio program that is valued by all as well as sustained by all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Catherine. So, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, so if you are interested to explore more the different extension models, practical experiences in Africa, please join us on May 29th and June 26th. Thank you so much, all the speakers, and we look forward to listen to your cases. So as we are moving to as we are moving to the last session of today's webinar, which is summary and closing, I would like to invite my colleague Mayu Yamamoto from the FA Office of Innovation to tell us what are the takeaways from today's webinar, from those discussions and from presentations. So I would like to listen the key takeaways, then we'll wrap up this webinar. Mayu, over to you.
Yeah, sure, Samson.
Yeah.
Now, Howdy, my colleague is sharing the screen.
Okay.
I hope everyone can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Mayu Yamamoto. I'm a junior professional officer at the Office of Innovation, FAO. And before wrapping up today's webinar, I'd like to briefly recap today's seminar by sharing the takeaway messages that my colleague Howdy and I have found from today's seminar. So first, we learned that the current trends of extension models are moving toward emerging and innovative EAS models at global and also in Africa. The examples of these are use of digital tools like artificial intelligence or co-learning approaches, as well as other advanced digital tools. Well, these are very promising. However, it is noted that there is no one-size-fits-all model. Rather, the best model can be determined by existing context and situation specific to each case and each situation of the specific situation of the countries, so that it can adapt to the demands and the real situations. Also, we have seen many successful examples of EAS models application. However, we also have learned that there are still many challenges remaining when we try to apply these models in the field. As shared by our speakers and also some audiences in the comment section, these challenges include, for example, functional skill gaps, technical skill gaps, limited infrastructure, investment, digital advice, and etc. Finally, we have also learned that those rural communications and also partnerships, particularly that involves engagement with youth, can play key roles in overcoming these challenges. They are enabling enhancing inclusivity and accessibility of these emerging innovative EAS models. So successful cases we have seen today demonstrated that how rural communications, partnerships, and advisory services are all complementing each other. So that is a brief wrap up from my side. And this is actually just some personal reflection of me and Howdy. So we actually would like to encourage the audience to share their own findings or reflections in the comment sections.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mayu. You may stop sharing. Yes, thank you so much. Those are excellent key takeaways and summaries. So, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm just reminding you the upcoming webinars because I don't want to dilute, what has been presented by Mayu. She has really summarized Howdy and Mayu have summarized key takeaways. The importance of partnership is very important. The use of extension models and rural communication services are really complementarity. And also there are many challenges which we should all act together. And again, no one size fits all models. Different countries have different experience. That's why FA is organizing such kind of experience sharing webinar. So just again, a reminder, final reminder, we'll have 2 more webinars on May 29th, 1:30 p.m. We'll start Rome time, focusing on pluralistic extension model led by the private sectors and producers organization. And also the 3rd webinar, extension model using innovative video and community radio, rural radio. So please join us in this 2 days webinar, and you will be learning and you will be sharing your experience as well. There will be English to French interpretation in these 2 webinars. So with that said, I would like to say thank you all the speakers of all the session for your insightful contribution, sharing your experience. And also thank you all participants sharing also I could see the chat was very active. There were many questions in the Q&A. Probably we have not addressed all the questions, but still this is a webinar series, will be also continue interaction. Again, if you have any comment or any suggestion on our webinar, please reach us using this link so that we'll be very glad to provide our responses. So once again, I would like to thank all the organizers, the partnership unit, and also Office of Innovation colleagues, and also all participants for your active participation. And looking forward to seeing you in our 2nd webinar, which will be on May 29th. Can we have our video on and take group photo? If you put on your video, that would be good so that we take a group photo. Cristiano or Julia, could you help us with taking a group? Yeah, let's put on all video. Yeah, you look great. Cristiano, tell us. Yeah, I could see smiling now. Okay, thank you so much, and bye for now, and looking forward to see you on May 29th. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.